Building a profitable brand, whether it be personal or business, don't aim for perfection early on. Instead, allow your brand to evolve naturally over time and focus on providing massive value and over-deliver to your target audience. Transformation is not just about changing yourself or the way you do things. It actually means shifting yourself to a completely new dimension of experience and perception.
Welcome to another episode of Create the Edge. And this time we're coming to you live with 4 of our amazing guests, 3 of them from down under in Australia, and our 4th guest all the way from the United States of America. So what we're wanting to do ideally is thank you so much for all your support on Create the Edge to our amazing networks. So we are actually going to be, as we did last time during our 50th Golden Jubilee episode, we are actually bringing together hearts and minds through technology. So what we're going to be doing is basically moving forward. We'll be doing certain specific live streams where we are going to have our guests come from all over the world regarding specific industries and specific topics, and you'll be able to ask them questions, interact with them directly on the live feed. So without further ado, I'm going to be bringing on our soul and our lone warrior from the United States of America, David Brier. David, Iron Man of Branding, welcome to the show, mate. Thank you so much for being there.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
It's an honor. An absolute pleasure. And bringing on board Dino from Perth. Thank you so much, Dino. The 007 in personal branding. Thank you so much for being here, brother. I love your jacket there.
Thanks. Thank you. It's good to be on the show again.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. It is our pleasure. And I'm going to bring on my brother from another mother, Ahmad Imam, a.k.a. Snoop Imam. He's a little bit under the weather, but see, that's what brothers are there for, man. Thank you so much, Ahmad. Really, really appreciate you being here with us. And, mate, it's you are actually at the latest time zones. It's about 10:34 your time in Sydney.
It is 10:30 p.m. in Sydney. I've got a little bit of a virus, and I just woke up from a nap. So bear with me.
Good, man. Mate, I think I need to just play some music in the background, mate, and just get you rapping, mate. That's gonna wake you right up.
That could work. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
good to be here.
All our amazing viewers have obviously met our 3 amazing guests, and we're going to be introducing our 4th guest, who is a debutant into our CTE family, all the way from Perth, but presently, on the east coast of Australia. Bruno, all the way from Australia. That's an absolute pleasure, Bruno. Thank you so much, and thank you for being a part of our CTE family. And it's such a pleasure to have you on board as well. So, we're a little bit Aussie heavy here. So at this moment. So David,
I can put on an American accent if that helps.
I will not even attempt. I'm outnumbered. I will not attempt to do an Australian accent. I refuse.
There are quite a few different Australian accents actually based on the territory or the state you're from, right, Dino?
Exactly. And there is, as David was saying previously before we jumped on, there's different American accents and plenty of Australians. Don't worry about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Bruno, thank you for joining us, brother. How's your day going? Are you in Melbourne or are you in Sydney?
No, I'm in Sydney right now. I'll be here till Wednesday before I head down to Melbourne. And it's been a good day. It's a bit freezing in Sydney, as Ahmad would testify to that. And I must say that it's a privilege to be here with you guys. And Joy, first time face-to-face, David.
Absolutely.
It's all great. And, Ahmad and Dino, it's a deja vu, man.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. And thank you so much, Bruno. So, mate, honestly speaking, send some cold over to Singapore, guys. I mean, it's hot, mate. It is really, really hot. It's like 35 degrees here in Singapore. We could do with a little bit of...
You don't need to brag now. Come on.
I'm happy to swap. I'm happy to swap anytime. I'm on my way down under anyways, but I'm happy to swap even earlier, mate. All right. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, gents, for taking your time out of your busy schedules and coming on the show with us. So, what we actually wanted, you four stalwarts and specialists to actually come out and discuss, because a lot of people are just, a little bit confused regarding what branding is, what branding is all about. And, I've obviously got Dino, who is the specialist in personal branding, and obviously David Brier, who's the chief gravity defier in business branding. That's something which ties in so beautifully to a certain extent with what Ahmad and Bruno, y'all have gone through. Because, y'all are specialists in transforming yourselves. But transforming yourself is to a certain extent, according to me, very, very, subtly connected to your personal brand to a certain extent as well. Mm-hmm. Like Ahmad, you've come from a you used to follow your own passion in music, and how you've transformed your life. And obviously we go through some of those stories, which we have shared and discussed over personal calls before, which is so powerful. And Bruno, you've just gone the opposite way. You've gone from a corporate field and you've gone into, the dark arts. You've gone into the dark lord. You've gone into the black zone of going into, doing your own business. So, that's a lot of transformation, but that also entails quite a lot of branding yourself, redefining yourself, and basically just defining who you are as a person to your target audience, which honestly is what branding is all about. And I think personal transformation, business transformation is so closely attuned and aligned to branding that Joy and I, we were just discussing that the four of you, would be perfect to actually come on and have a discussion. And this actually brings me, I'm not sure, when we were doing a couple of trailers, a couple of our amazing network actually brought up a very interesting point as to why are there 4 men? Why aren't there any women? Yeah. In this present discussion? And I actually didn't think about that much. And my immediate answer was, well, it's very interesting actually, because we want to actually bring through some of our CTE family who are already been on CTE, and strangely enough, in the branding and the transformation space, there have at this present moment only been men. But interestingly, across our 46 guests that we've had 24 women and 22 men, including Bruno at this present moment. So, so we've actually had more women. And very interestingly, to all our audience, who's tuned in, thank you so much for doing that. And coming to you next week, you will have 4 women. I'm not going to share who they are because you will have to wait and watch. You'll have 4 women coming to you, giving you advice on life coaching. So you've got no men telling you how to live your life. Only women, because women are the architects of society.
Well, just for the record, I just want to state it for the record that I'm thinking of 4 women while the 6 of us are here together.
Does your wife know that, David?
She's one of them.
Love it.
Absolutely
love it. So, thank you so much, by the way. We've got Arif and Erwin. We've got Gopal from India. We've got Oluwafemi. We've got Pramila Dawson from Australia. We've got Jacqueline from Canada. We've got Ravindran from France. We've got Mohammed. We've got Rayson from Singapore. We've got Sohaib Hassan all the way from Dubai. And we've got Elaine from the East Coast. It's 5:30 a.m. your time, Elaine. Thank you so much for joining us. And we've got Rana. Rana, thank you so much. It's a pleasure, another amazing member of our CTE family to join us. Really, really appreciate it. Charu from Singapore and quite a few others. So thank you so much for joining in. So without further ado, Joy, would you like to lead the discussion?
Yeah, sure. The discussion is very simple. It's getting David and Dino to pit off against Ahmed and Bruno. Let's put it that way. Branding, David. So before you guys pick up your knuckles, there are lots of myths around branding, and David takes up sort of breaking each one of them and talking about differentiation and evolving the brand and how do you. And Dino, I find when I look from the outside, is doing similar with the person, and which is why in this morning's trailer that we wrote, we wrote about rising above the noise and flip the M and make it we. These two, David and Dino, would you one by one just take it off? Because how important is it to rise above the noise in branding, and why? And then Dino, if you could link that back to flipping the M in me to.
Okay, I'll jump in. So it's very interesting because I've actually spoken to.
Are we there? Or
yeah, Joy. Yeah, Joy, you are actually buffering quite a bit. So, but never mind. All the others are fine. So, sorry, David. Go ahead.
No problem. So the one of it's been an interesting topic that's been brought up. People say, "Well, you're like product branding, and you're like," and they have these buckets with product or service or personal, and I'm like, frankly, I said I do not consider that a legitimate distinction, because it's kind of like, just like you would talk about marketing or communication. You wouldn't say, well, if you're communicating to whatever, like different things. I mean, it's like communication is communication. You know it by the fact that has what you intended arrived at the receipt point, right? Mm-hmm. And so the thing with branding for me is branding. It's what I cover in my book. It is the art of differentiation. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is that any time that any of us, whether we're dealing on a personal basis, on a business basis, whatever, if we have an idea, whether it's an idea for someone to purchase something, or someone to advocate something, or someone to become part of the community or something, or become an ambassador or something, why are they going to choose us mm-hmm. rather than all the various choices they have? Because there's no shortage of choices. So as a result, the whole thing with regard to branding is the fact that it's the art of differentiation, because people are always going to bring their minds and their emotions and their heart into a decision. And so whether that decision is buying a thing or investing in a person or at whatever it is, there's the same dynamics that go into it. And so that's what happens when I'm actually branding anything, because I've branded everything from products to services to cities to people. Mm-hmm. And the principles that I apply are universal. They don't shift. They don't go, oh, if you're dealing with people, you don't include that. No, there's still a person that needs to differentiate and understand why why not these other things? How are you different? How are you not the same as? And so that's the thing. So for me, branding is the art of differentiation. 4 words. There you go.
So I've got a quick question there, David. Absolutely, and I couldn't agree with you more, especially with branding being the art of differentiation. But let's say, for example, and this is a question that we had on one of our on the trailer, and there was a person who's actually looking at starting his own entrepreneurial venture, who actually sort of had a very, very important question along the lines of, with the way, the MNCs have got a much bigger spending budget. And obviously, when someone's actually trying to bootstrap his way, into a brand new company along those lines. So what would your opinion be to a certain extent as to how they can actually sort of, work with a bit of a shoestring budget to a certain extent, but also be able to differentiate them from much bigger competitors to a certain extent? I'm sure you face this on many occasions.
Always. So here's the thing. So first of all, ingenuity lies at the bottom of it all. So 95, and I'm really not overestimating this, like 95% of businesses or people are doing variations on what they've seen. Mm-hmm. So as a result, we're all exposed to a lot of very similar messages. Mm-hmm. So when I talk about rising above the noise, I'm talking the noise is that whole sea of things that are like, whether it's buy this or I'm the best or I'm an expert or da-da-da. In other words, like everyone's kind of peddling the same crap, right? Mm-hmm. So once you have to look and you have to go, okay, so what's everyone peddling? Yep. What can I actually offer that's uniquely different? Yep. And how are they peddling it? How are they promoting it? How are they generating awareness on it? And then how can I do that in a way that is just like absolutely disruptive? Maybe it's, if everyone's doing, like, I'll give you a very simple example, perfectly simple example. Yep. And this is for a company but it actually can completely apply to people. Anyone can apply this. One of my clients, they were really expanding after this rebrand that was done for them. And what happened was they were getting to such a point. I said, what I want you to do, because I'm going to give you a little secret.
Yep.
One thing that most people don't understand is there's pre-sales branding, meaning like before the sale, that's promotion. There's during the sale branding, or during the service. So that's where you're, over delivering, and you're giving more, and this, that, the other, and really building value. But the one that's most overlooked is the last one, which is post-sales branding, after the sale, because many companies, many businesses, and many entrepreneurs consider the transaction the end, and to me, the transaction is the beginning. That's actually where you start. So how do you do in that post-sale? Okay, you concluded the transaction. How can I convert that into something where they don't expect anything? How can I blow their minds? How can I just give them something that they didn't expect? So what I did with this particular client is sales were increasing dramatically, and I said, what I want you to do is I want you 1 week after to actually send out a handwritten note saying, by the way, and we designed this beautiful card, and it was fine and all that. And I said, I want you to do a handwritten note with a handwritten envelope and a stamp on the freaking envelope. Actually, like, how was that, dear, blah, 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 blah. Wanted to know, how'd that go for you? Da, 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 da. The amount of response. Now, here's the thing. They said, oh, you mean like an email? I said, you send an email, I will break your legs. Because everybody's doing digital. Everybody's, that's their first thing. Their first, how do we automate it? How do we make it more efficient? And they're sucking the life out of it. And so my whole thing was, no, what I wanted to do, I want you to add the human touch, because this was a service providing something that was a very personal service, it was a real milestone for bridal showers and different things like that. And I said, I want it to be personal. And the amount of response they got just from doing that. So that's one example. It's not very costly. And it was just looking intelligently. What's everyone else doing? Boom. And what can I do differently than everyone else? That's one example of on a shoestring budget. How can I do something differently? If everyone is introducing, if everyone is sending out a gazillion introductory emails, how can I maybe, what can I do that's different? I don't care. Take a freaking donut and write their name on the donut and have it arrive in a box with some coffee.
Spot on. I mean, you said it perfectly. It's just about being there. Dare to be different, and that actually brings me to Rana. She's actually thinking of coloring her hair pink. Just to be different. So she's just put it in the comments right now. So Rana, I mean, that would be brilliant. So I kid you not, someone who bought Brand Invention told me just from applying the art of differentiation, he actually changed his hair and his facial hair and his hair color, and as part of his hair presentations, he sold $200,000 worth of deals. Yeah, just by being and unforgettable. Spot on. That's the human touch, and that brings us perfectly into the personal branding segment with Dino. I mean, the human touch is so important, because your brand is only as good as you actually make it, and how you actually portray it. And so, Dino, I mean, would love your insights regarding. You've also gone through quite a bit of transformation. So, I mean, you can actually speak on both the aspects, the personal branding as well as the transformative journey that you've been on. So, Dino, would love to hear your thoughts, brother.
Yeah, thank you. So some great insight before I go on from David about differentiating yourself. And David, I'm not saying for people to go out and do this, but the social media challenges that you see, when you were talking, the social media challenges was coming through my mind, and all I could see was Jason Stratham flipping around and spinning off the bottle caps off the bottles. And you were talking about all that noise, and all of a sudden you started seeing 50 people doing it, 100, 200. But if you weren't doing that within the first, 6 hours of it being released, it becomes a noise. So that I don't know, David, if you were going with that, but that's where my mind was sitting when it came to that type of branding. I think when I start talking around, and I know in the promo stuff we put it around flipping the M in the me and concentrating on the we, and I shared a couple of times why I came up with that, why that's so important to me. And it was prior to me actually doing any transformation, or maybe even 12 months prior to that, is the perception around your brand that people can start to conjure up in their mind around who somebody is without actually having a relationship with them. And whether you call that branding or not, I call it perceived perception of somebody. It all automatically, there were people out there with this perception of who I was, and excuse my ignorance, but it was becoming that I was an arrogant wanker, I was talking crap, I wasn't genuine, and there wasn't this happening. And you heard it a couple of times until you actually proactively go out and ask people that potentially have 5 or 10 degrees of separation from you, and you go, hey, can you give me your perception of what you see of me online? What do you think I am? What do you think I do? Who do you think I am? Right? And I challenge anybody to go off and do that tomorrow. Even make a phone call, send a DM, however you want to do it, and have a look how your brand is perceived in the market. Right? And I made some changes off the back of that because 99% of them came back through one way. So that's when my video content started to increase. That's when the creativity a little bit started to come out a bit more. When the corporate blanket started to get pulled across a little bit and you started to get a bit more on that human-to-human element around that personal branding side. And if I touch base on video content, and I'm a big believer that if you're going to do video content, right, stop giving a crap about making sure that your hair's right. And I'm not picking on yours, mate, but stop making sure that your hair's
No. I'm looking at my sideburn, brother. I'm looking at my sideburn.
Don't worry.
Bruno and I'll pass.
We're good, Joy. We don't worry about that stuff.
I knew I shouldn't have went there. Particularly, and I am not talking just from. I know plenty of females, and I've had female clients that get a little bit more vain in front of the camera than a male. But I'll tell you what, I've had male clients that don't want to do it either because and I'm not talking about lighting and audio. I'm talking about physical presentation. And yes, there's a line that you don't want to get out in your pajamas or shirtless at a Sunday afternoon at a pub and doing that. There is that line there. But I think if you start putting up those barriers, thinking someone's not going to like my background, someone's not going to like my beard that I've got on, someone's not going to like the jacket I'm wearing, you'll never actually get out of your own way to actually create some content.
It's true.
And as we mentioned, 99% of things people can Google online and find. But it's your thoughts, I think, which become so valuable. And I'm not going to go through the old cliche around the power is yourself and all those motivational, inspirational stuff, because we see plenty and I'm guilty of putting them up myself. But it's really in the sense of if people are in your community online, then are they actually, I suppose, in that community because they value your opinion about something? And I think if you have a strong opinion and where you can showcase what you're doing and you can help somebody, and I always say helping one person a day, but regardless of the number, then I think that is where your personal brand starts to exceed. And going back on that video content, the differentiation part that David was talking about is if you can really get emotionally connected with somebody, then that is the key. And you'll see it across reality TV these days, right? Whether you're watching Australia's Got Talent, America's Got Talent, X Factor, all of the ones that go through, have a look at it. They will do the 60, 90-second promo on that person because they have a background story. Why do they do that? They get the viewers emotionally entangled into that person. So you're going to watch it not only that week, but next week, week after, week after. So
I have a question for you, Dino. Is it okay? Is it okay?
Yes,
go ahead.
Of course.
So Dino, here's one thing that I've seen what you were saying made me think of. That what I see is that some people do videos and they're putting it out there, but they're not taking a firm stand. In other words, it's not the conviction. And for whatever their point they're raising, they might make it sort of almost like tentatively, like hopefully this won't offend anybody, but I'll kind of throw it out there. You know, there's that little, and it lacks the conviction. And to me, that is the make break point of something having impact or not. I'm curious what your viewpoint is on that.
Oh, I agree with you. I think and correct me if I'm wrong, David, if that passion doesn't come across in what you're actually talking about, right? Whether you're selling something or not, or you're actually selling yourself, or you're selling your ideas, your viewpoints on it, If you're not doing it and you're only sitting on the fence half-heartedly, then you're gonna lose that community, because people are going, this person's creating content just for the sake of it. And we see that across all platforms, not just on LinkedIn.
True.
Across many different people, they will put up content just to go, hey, I did a video. Thank God I can cross that off my bucket list this week.
Yeah.
But you're right. And it's okay. If you want to talk about a trending topic that's happened, if you want to talk about Djokovic winning Wimbledon last night and you had a viewpoint on how long the game is and the new rules that are actually brought out in the last 5 serves so it doesn't drag on for 15 hours, share that viewpoint, but have an objective of why you're sharing it, right? And I think that's where sometimes if you're not engaging and you're not having that emotional connection, you will just ramble and talk for 5 or 6 minutes and you'll lose people after the first 30 seconds. So have a why, have a purpose of why you're sharing that viewpoint. But I suppose that's where I wanted to close it off on my little segment around, if you're going to take something away today, is take away challenges around trying to find out how people perceive you online. And we're talking about people that haven't had the opportunity to pick up the phone and have a chat with you. Do that and put some thought into getting creative with video content. Because I tell you what, all the thoughts that you're putting in your brain, people don't give a shit about, right?
Nobody
people,
knows it,
I'm sure people don't give a crap that I'm wearing a white and red jacket with the collars up. They go, Dino, who really gives a crap, right? I've got a face for radio, so it doesn't matter. But if you can do that, get out of your own way, and if you have somebody that's in your circle that you can go, hey, I've done a few videos, can you have a look at them?
Exactly.
Do that. Get some thoughts, get some opinion of other people, because you're not by yourself. But don't compare yourself to other people. All right. I'm sick and tired of only one more person going, oh, but that person does it that way. I want to do posts like that.
Yep.
Like David said, we're going to come around with a baseball bat, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, just jumping in.
You can do it yourself. Don't worry about what other people think. There's no rules to this.
Yeah.
So that's
I mean, Dino,
branding.
Yusuf, you'd agree to this. I mean, I think the tips apply, at least on our side of the world. It applies to business. You know, I mean, so many businesses perceive what their brands are and they communicate or put out a message thinking what they are without doing what David just mentioned. Get to that person with a note or ask, what do you think? How was it? You know, you don't take a feedback, and then you sort of don't take that feedback. How should we say? Authentic? No, authentic is the wrong word to use. Originally, you don't. If somebody tells you, hey, dude, look, this isn't working, right? You don't bring it back and say, guys, it's not working. Can we look at where and why it's not working? And that's where this linkage between personal branding and business branding actually comes in. At the end of the day, it's finding a difference. And in order to find the difference, you got to ask people. You got to, go through everything else that's there and take it. Thank you, guys. I mean, no wonder you guys are legends, man. Legends.
Spot on. And that actually brings it to the care perspective. It's so important, for a brand, for a company, for a business, for even a person to be able to connect meaningfully and then be able to appreciate that the feedback that they receive after they connect, because you will always receive feedback, and then be able to relate your offering to their real needs and requirements, and then engage with, how they actually want the service or the product. And that's so important. It's true in personal life as well as in I think business branding. So I mean, I'd like to actually. It's a very interesting thing when Dino you were speaking, and David you were speaking as well. There was a show on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it finished yesterday in Singapore called World Class Speaker, where Les Brown was actually here. Speaking in Singapore, and it was held by Kane and Alessia Minkus, who are business coaches. And what they do is they actually teach people how to become good speakers. Now, I attended the course because I'm a big believer that you can always, there's no end to learning new things, and there's so many things that you can imbibe by just, discussing a few things with others around you. So, the main thing that my main takeaway was like, when you're doing a presentation, whether it be at a corporate level or you're basically presenting to a client, it's never about the amount of information or the technical specifications. It's always about how you convey the message, and that's what Dino was talking about. And I completely agree with you. It's the passion that you put in, which comes through to the people who are actually listening to that message, and that's so very important. I mean, it's not just about the words, but it's how you deliver it. and that is so important, and absolutely, and that actually brings me to to Ahmad, because little do you, all of you know, who are listening in, on this live feed at this present moment, we've got presently 89 people watching at the same time, and quite a few comments. So I'm actually going to go through a couple of comments. So Delilah Taylor from Tennessee in the US actually says that her bright red hair has helped her stand out from the crowd for years. So absolutely, be the differentiator. Have that differentiating element within you, which is very, very important. And Rana, absolutely, she's loving the hair comments. So Rana, we all love you. So what you do is absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much. We've got one question here. I'm just going to quickly sort of post it to all of you here. So there's another Youssef actually who's asked in. So most company top management, they take the credit of all the staff and interested of recognizing them by the end of the year. The CEO will just say that, I have increased the revenue. So what can this, the line managers do to be able to actually showcase, the benefits or the inputs that the staff have actually put in? And I know it's a difficult question actually, because sometimes it's really hard, isn't it? If you've got a CEO of a company who's actually, really hell bent on taking all the accolades for himself or herself, right? So, what's the best way of actually, positioning yourself?
Yusuf, can I just answer that from a branding perspective?
Absolutely,
I'll
absolutely.
let the other guys tackle it from maybe from a leadership perspective. But
yep.
if you're gonna look at somebody, and I'm not talking about comparisons, but if you're going to look at a CEO that does it well and doesn't just wait for the end of financial year results to come out, Google up Richard Branson. Everybody knows who he is, right? CEO of Virgin Company. Does this guy promote his team throughout the year? Whether you remember a post of one of his staff members having
sleeping,
a nap sleeping on there because he worked 15 hours or whatever, but he took that he took the mickey out of him, but he was also promoting the hard work that his team is doing. And he doesn't do it once a month, right? Regardless if his PA does it or whoever. But that, from a branding perspective, it's actually showcasing the people that run his company that produce the results at the end of the year.
Brilliant.
So I think from a branding perspective, if you're going to look at it and you're a CEO and you're wanting some assistance, that is the man to get some ideas off, not to compare yourself with. But maybe the other guys have something from a leadership perspective.
No, spot on. Completely agree. David, would you like to jump in a little bit?
Well, yeah, totally. There's definitely. I think inclusion is vital for every aspect of a brand. Period. From the brand outward to the world, from the leadership outward or inward to its team. Inclusion is vital. I can say from my own. Not only from how I've used that as a strategy with brands that I've created, but I've also, when I actually speak, and when I do any public speaking, when I shift it, I've been doing it for enough years that at a certain point I made a very conscious decision to shift and go, instead of talking I'm gonna talk me to you. All of a sudden I shifted and I totally made a shift. I said, we. That's all I did, and it was I took that dividing line in the sand and I wiped it away. So it was and where we will benefit and how we will do that. And we that inclusion factor is vital. So to me, that is the thing that works on every aspect of leadership and every aspect of branding.
Beautifully said. Yep.
Spot on. And I'd like to actually welcome some of our newer viewers who's actually here. So Arifa, Ildiko, Akshaya Selvan, Valentina, Amir Mahmood, Delilah, Jess Tayel, Ebenezer, and Kasturi from Singapore. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. I really appreciate your comments and your questions as well. So that again, I'm going to jump straight into to Ahmad and Bruno. You wanted to say something? Absolutely.
Yes, I just wanted to add something very quickly to what Dino and David have just said there. When it comes to branding and leadership and management, the way you asked the question about CEO taking credit for the success of the team in a way. This is the top to bottom kind of leadership and management, where we have this hierarchy of I'm the CEO, this is the VP, and so on. But if we go horizontally, where the CEO is always in contact with everybody else down the line, then nobody's going to take that credit. It's a team that gets the credit at the end of the day.
Correct.
That's just my view on it.
No, spot on. I think you're absolutely right. It's all got to do with the company culture, right? And as soon as it's something which is either there within the company or it isn't to a certain extent. There's not much you can do if you've got perhaps the wrong people at the helm of the company. But all you can do is try to a certain extent. And David and Dino are absolutely right. So thank you for that. Thank you for that input, Bruno. And I'm going to actually jump over to Ahmad. So, brother, you have. Throughout your life, a lot of people in the network you may not know, and who've actually been following, Ahmad Imam, for a little while. He was at one point scared of public speaking. I mean, would you believe that? That is seriously amazing. I would never have believed that if you'd actually not said it. And how did he get over it? What was the transformation? What was that moment where you just click the finger to basically be like, no, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to show the world, that as Tima says, there's goodness, and greatness within each and every one of us. And Tima is also actually watching. So thank you, Tima, for tuning in. So Ahmad, please go ahead, brother.
First of all, thank you for inviting me. I think I've actually collaborated with or worked with everybody on this panel. So it's incredible. Yusuf, Joy, we've collaborated. Dino, we've collaborated. Bruno was the man behind my headshot. Thank you, brother.
Beautiful shot.
Thank you, appreciate it. And David and I are actually working on a top secret project, which we'll tell you about a little bit later as well.
Mum's the word. Mum's the word.
Which some people know about, some don't.
Amazing.
We're very proud of it. I was terrified of public speaking. It wasn't just a fear. I was absolutely terrified of it. And it came from self-limiting beliefs amongst other things. But to your point, and speaking of transformation, I actually prefer the word evolving to the word transforming. And for me, it's been a process of evolution as opposed to just transforming, because for me, transforming suggests that you're transforming from someone to someone else, or from something to something else, and it lacks that authenticity, in my opinion. And you can also transform into something good or something bad. For example, you lose 50 kilos, you transformed. You put on 50 kilos, you transformed. And a good example of transformation versus say evolution is let's say the Kardashians, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's familiar with the Kardashians. Yep. They transformed, right? Lady Gaga transformed. It's a very superficial way of transforming, or a very materialistic way of transforming, in my opinion. So it's not about pretending to be something that you're not. It's just embracing who you are, and being confident with who you are, despite the flaws. So for me, it's about going through a process of evolution, actually growing up and growing wiser and learning from mistakes, and putting yourself in positions where you're constantly being challenged, and then from that being the best version of yourself. And a good example of, let's say, transforming versus evolution is, let's say, the difference between, and I hate to constantly pick on the Kardashians, but let's say the difference between Kim Kardashian and Oprah, right? Oprah is a perfect example of someone that has evolved over time, and someone that has taken their audience on a journey with them through that evolution. And I can ask you all, if I was to ask you, who do you trust more? Kim Kardashian or Oprah? Right? It's almost not a debate.
It's unanimous. You
know what I mean? Like, if Kim Kardashian came out and said, I've got a recommendation for some financial services, I'm not exactly going to take that recommendation on board. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But if Oprah came out and said, I've been working with this financial planner for the last few years, I highly recommend them. Yeah, we'd consider that. So my journey, if we're talking about, let's say, social media and LinkedIn in general, has been a process of evolution more than anything. I'm not there saying that I'm an expert in anything. You know, I'm not an expert in branding. I'm not an expert in transformation. I'm simply talking about my experience. But my journey on LinkedIn has been about, you know what, I'm learning about this. This is what I've learned, and I'd love for you all to come on a journey with me. You know, I'd love for you all to come on this ride with me as I learn it. And that's what I've done throughout, you know, talking about very different topics, from diversity to confidence to negotiation. I'm not claiming I'm an expert. I'm saying this is what I've learned. I'm sharing that knowledge, and I want you to share with me and go along with that ride with me. Absolutely. So big difference, in my opinion, between transforming and evolving.
And thank you so much for actually bringing that up, Ahmad, and beautifully said. And there have been a couple of people actually on the feed who've actually been talking about how important it is and how beautifully you've actually sort of separated both the two. Both of them, you got Ildiko, you got Anthony Zavelis as well, who've actually sort of giving some their amazing feedback regarding how important it is to understand the difference between evolution and transformation. Sorry, Bruno. Yes, you're about to say something. Sorry, man.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Ahmad said there. And if we take the case of Oprah as well, Oprah has been through both, you know, evolution and transformation. But at the end of the day, when she evolved, you know, she became a lot more, how can I say this? A lot more valuable to everybody else. While she was doing her transformation process, going through weight loss and so forth, Oprah's gone from that to that, transformed back there, came back, and she went back and forth. And then what happened? I'm just going to be me. And she carried on with evolving with who Oprah was without having to change anything else, but carry on with the journey.
And, so that's a great example. And Bruno, she actually came out and said that she has an eating disorder. You know, she came out and spoke about her weaknesses, you know, spoke about why her weight has fluctuated. And she actually took her audience on that journey with her, you know, and through that authenticity, it built just so much trust. That despite how long she's been going for, she still to this day has most of her core tribe from her early days. You know, because they've gone on that journey with her.
Couldn't agree more. And actually, that actually brings me to a question which I'd like all of you to actually provide your insights on. I mean, a lot of people talk about vulnerability, right? How much should you show your vulnerable side to others? Is there a limit that you should try to put, that you should try to reach, especially on a corporate level? Or is it something that you should really bear your heart out, you know, based on your personal, opinion? Ahmad?
I think vulnerability is very empowering, you know, and it's empowering because you are saying, this is me. This is what I'm experiencing. This is who I am. And learning from that. And it's empowering because you empower others through that process. Me talking about the fact that I was terrified about public speaking, which is very true, empowers others. You know, because a lot of us get into the bad habit of trying to put on the front a lot of the time, or trying to pretend, you know, that we're good at something that we're not good at, or trying to fake it till we make it. And we get into that bad habit because we see everyone around us trying to do that also. But there's so much power in just embracing who you are, who you're not, and also what actually makes you weak. Because being very open and embracing that weakness will empower others and will empower yourself. So I'm a big believer in being vulnerable, but within the workplace, obviously that has to, you know, you can't cross a certain line. You have to make sure that you can perform at the role and that you're performing at the job responsibilities. You know? So if I get a job as a salesperson, I'm not going to come out and say, oh, by the way, I actually suck at sales. You know, so be careful of how you approach that.
Absolutely. David?
I was just going to add, I agree with what Ahmad had just shared. And I think that the one place where I see people make a big misstep is that they treat whatever channels, whether it's in person, whether it's media channels, whether it's in videos, whatever, they almost treat it, they almost embrace their vulnerability too much, to the point where they almost almost where I've seen people use these channels of communication almost as like a therapy. It's like you don't show up and you say, I don't have a freaking clue what the hell I'm doing here. Or by the way, I know that I'm supposed to be a customer service person, but I really can't stand most of you when I'm actually standing in front of you. It's like, so there's a fine line between, it's like, look, it's like either freaking man up and do your job that people are relying upon you to do your job as. And look, everyone acknowledges. I mean, if I go through a day where I don't learn something, it's a wasted day. If I don't go through a day where I have actually made sure that I have bestowed upon others knowledge and insights that I have run across, that's a wasted day. So there's that sharing. But that vulnerability thing, I've seen people abuse it to the point where this isn't your show of like, let me show you how human and frail I am. It's like, that's not, if I'm showing up, people are counting upon me, and I take that seriously. And if I'm, it's kind of like, it's like here, like I'm here with you guys. You are, for me to add value, I need to be able to provide something worthwhile. It's going to be insightful for those that are tuning in. For you guys, it's going to contribute to the thing. I could be here and say, oh, I could take it the other way, and it could just be pendulum swung too far. So I totally agree with being human, vulnerable, and being real. But also not using that as sort of like not misusing that. I guess that was right.
Spot on. I'd like to actually welcome some of our new viewers. Christian Anderson, the founder of Luncheon, all the way from Sweden. We've got Alia Galal. We've got Noreen Mosley. We've got Alexis Ray. Thank you so much for joining in. We've got Hind Zarui. We've got Yasmin Chadman. We've got Dimitri Ortiz, Mohammed Raza from Dubai. And Adam Horvath from Germany. We've got Rosario Morales, and Rosalio's actually, he's quoted. He's actually written a very, very powerful quote by Brené Brown. Staying vulnerable is a risk we have to take if we want to experience connection. That's so true. That is so true. People to a certain extent, they relate to people who are genuine. I know we don't like the word authentic, but we don't have Randy here today, so I
love the word authentic. It's so. The word authentic is the most genuine word that I know. I love it. It's fantastic, Randy. If you're watching, oh man,
Dino, I would love your perspective before I jump over to Bruno.
Yeah, well, let me be authentic as I possibly can do.
Perfect.
If someone can get me a more defined word than authentic and being genuine and actually talking about bloody being yourself and being vulnerable, bloody share it, because I don't think anybody can. But hence why we take the piss out of it all the time. But I think going back to the response, how much vulnerable. What aspect do you actually take your vulnerability online? I think the answer comes down to how comfortable you are with actually sharing. And yeah, it does, again, build that emotional connection on where you're going. And David looks like he's taking us on a journey of his own tonight. But
he is.
With not derailing my thoughts around it.
No, I think he's going into the studio or going out.
Yeah, this is MTV Cribs with David. He's going to start to open up his fridge.
And I hope he's not taking us to the bathroom.
No, he's outside. Unless
he's in the backyard.
Thank goodness.
All this talk about vulnerability made me want to step outside.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
But I think it goes on to that. It goes on to the point there where you're comfortable and where that comfortability of lying before you're actually crossing it, and the consistency of you actually sharing it. So if you're creating it because, again, you want to help people in a similar situation, and I shared part of my vulnerability probably a couple of years ago when I started transforming that M in the weed, and it was about when I went through my divorce, and it wasn't about the guilty factor of in the sense of leaving an ex-wife behind. It was a guilty factor of not seeing my children 24/7 anymore. And I did that because, one, I wanted to create that emotional connection. let's be perfectly honest. But secondly, I wanted to create that community of people, both male and female, that have actually experienced that we're going through that, and the engagement that they saw. There were so many people that go, "Oh my God, how do I get over that?" Because every time I leave my children, all I want to do is go home and cry under the sheets.
Spot on.
And
I agree. Yeah.
And the only response I could give them is contact your children as often as you can do. Know that time is your friend in that instance, and it will get past. It'll get better. Listen, it never gets perfect because you want to be with them all the time. Unless you've got two teenage girls like mine, then you're happy to pass them back sometimes because just want to kill them. But it's good in that aspect, and it shows that you're going to create that because you want to help people. And I think that's okay with it. But you got to do it at a level that you're comfortable with as well.
See, that actually ties back very, very importantly. I mean, especially also, from a personal perspective, as also from a business perspective. I mean, this is what I've seen quite a few times when I'm actually speaking to clients, right? And, when I'm trying to find out their real needs and requirements, people will not give you their real needs and requirements because they are not happy to actually tell you things which they're doing incorrectly or wrong. They will only tell you up to a certain extent as to which they're comfortable with. Until and unless you actually take them into that safe space, that safe zone where they know that you're not judging them for things that they've done wrongly in the past. And I'm talking about C-suite as well, which is so interesting. You would expect that when you're sitting across the table with someone who's actually running a multi-million-dollar company or multi-billion-dollar company, they'd be comfortable in their own skin. But in so many situations, they aren't, because they are not. Everyone has this fear of being judged, which Dino just said so beautifully, and that is so true. And thank you for that, Dino. I really appreciate your input regarding that, especially through your transformation that you've had, from your corporate career, and now you've gone, yourself, into your own business, into what you're passionate about, which is basically, showing people how they can actually sort of be themselves and portray to others around them, the person who they are from within. And I have to do the shout out again, Dino. I know I may have embarrassed you a couple of times, but to everyone who's watching on this network, I started being active on LinkedIn from August last year. It's not even been a year, just so you know, everyone. And I think that there are a few people who are definitely behind me in being able to find myself and to be able to bring to all of you the person who I am. There's definitely, the number one person has to be the person who you're seeing on your right-hand corner of your screen, Dino Pacella. I mean, I was no one at that time. I had barely 200 followers at that moment in September, when I was interacting with Dino, on some of his posts meaningfully, and Dino reached out to me and said that, I see a lot of potential in you, brother. So we got on a call, and a little bit of advice that he gave me at that time is something I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. So Dino, I mean, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it. And a couple of others as well. I would like to do a shout out to is definitely Corey Warfield. I know you were watching this right at the beginning. I'm not sure whether you're still watching, Corey, but you were one of the main reasons I actually started doing video. So and you and Aaron Mason and Melvin Tan from Singapore, who used to basically message me every single day, when are you doing your first video post? And this I'm talking about in like October last year. So thank you so much. I mean, it's important to appreciate it, and it's so important. See, this is another very, very important aspect. People out there, sometimes we can get so comfortable in our own skin that whatever we do, we actually feel we are doing the right thing, even though we aren't. To a certain extent, it's actually we are deterring ourselves, we're holding ourselves back, and that's why we need someone to just come out and give us a push, and basically just literally kick us on the backside and take us out of our comfort zone. And that's so important, and that's one of the main reasons as to why the six of us are sitting here talking to each other on the screen, and hopefully being able to provide some value to all the people who are presently watching. So thank you so much once again, all four of you. Joy and I really appreciate it. And Bruno, we had a conversation. Okay, this is the first time that Bruno and I are actually speaking face to face, right, through technology. We've only spoken once before over WhatsApp. I mean, Bruno and I have been connected for a few months now We've interacted on each other's posts, but that is the power of technology. That is the power of reaching out. That is the power of actually being able to connect meaningfully, which is so prevalent, and it's so powerful, especially on this platform. So Bruno, brother, I mean, we had a lovely conversation a couple of days ago, and I got some brilliant insights regarding your life's journey. And I so want you to share that with everyone on watching at this present moment. It is so powerful, mate. So Bruno, please go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I mean, life is a transformation and evolution, as well, as Ahmad said. And the one that I've gone through, it's one of those things, being a young African boy who got lucky because he came from a family that was humble enough to take him away, and found myself in the US going to school at a young age and finished college, and I came to Australia to play basketball, and I end up here for the last, my adult life, basically. And along the way, I've been through a lot as well. I ran a company that was very, very successful. Like Dino, had a broken marriage and had to sell that company and then move on, and find myself lost in a way. And after 12 years of just roaming the outback, basically, but I was mostly in Melbourne. I didn't go in the outback, literally. And and I worked for a little while and decided to put distance between my first family and myself. And I ended up in Perth. And from Perth, I have to go through a lot of transformation, as we mentioned. And that transformation was a lot more systematic in the way I wanted to approach it, because I moved completely to a new place where I wanted to not so much change myself, but redefine myself, as you alluded to at the beginning of our program, shifting thyself to another dimension, completely, as you said before. So basically, that's what I was just want to redefine myself, and which I've done. And to the point that I went from being a professional basketball to an entrepreneur to working as an accountant, and then now I find myself as a photographer. I mean, where do I go from here? Which coming to where I am now, it's harder, because I have to change myself to align to the broad goals that I have in life. And that's not an easy thing to do, and especially when you started creating life and having families and so forth. And you cannot just make changes in the last minute to suit yourself. You have to make that change to encompass everybody. True. And so which I've done that, and I took a very, very strategic approach to it. Whether everything that we do in life, at the end of the day, we need that financial success. And in order to create that financial success, or to be able to obtain that financial success, we have to crush any limitation that we have within ourselves, in order to actually gather abundance, with everything and everyone around us, in order to achieve that financial success. And so I'm still on that journey, as Ahmad, said as well. The transformation is a process that's going to change, and it becomes cyclical. You can come back again, through your transformation. But as you evolve, evolution is a progress. You continue moving towards something, or evolve toward being the best self that you could be, in a way. And I'm along that process, and that process still aligns, as I mentioned before, to my broad goals in life. And so that goal basically is just to one day being able to help as many people as I can, and especially on the continent where I was born, because we have a lot of deficits locally here in Australia. But yet, I know that in Australia we have a lot of support socially, through government programs and so forth. Unlike places that I lived, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Africa, and so forth, there is no pension system for the population. There's no social payment that people receive at the end of the month if they're not working. If you don't have it, you go hungry. And so my broad goal in life is eventually to have, or to be able to create some type of community bank. And when I say that, usually most of my friends know, they have a laugh. And it's not anything that's laughable, because it's something that's doable. With $1 million, I could actually help a lot of farmers to have new machinery, produce more, harvest a lot, to the point that we can take that stuff, become their agent, sell abroad, come back, bring back what I loaned them to, to produce what they're producing, and the excess we put it in the coffer. We've done that for 10 years or whatever. How many more farmers can we help? Basically, that's right there. So there is nothing fancy about having a bank. It's got to be more like a Westpac Bank or, Chase Manhattan or something. We can have, we have banks around already, with those microloans that we're creating for people in, developed countries and so forth, and to be able to be self-sufficient and to succeed, as independent as they could, and so on. So this is actually my broad goal, and what I'm doing on LinkedIn doesn't actually convey that to you guys, because I have other activities off LinkedIn, that's pushing me toward that goal. And in due course, I would reveal those, and so. Until then, that's the transformation that I've been going through. And going back to it again, I'm glad that we had that conversation, and I had that similar conversation with Ahmad as well. And so there are a lot of bigger things that we can do, and this platform, can help us actually move forward in achieving a lot of the stuff that we want to do. And great to be here with you guys.
Absolutely, and it is our pleasure. And I'd like to actually ask you two questions. The first question is because, all our guests who we've actually had on Create the Edge, we've always asked them, tell us something that we wouldn't guess about you, the person behind the persona. Now, David, we know, how he used to actually paint, right? And Dino, we know that you like to increase and reduce your radio in even and odd numbers.
Yep.
Thanks for that.
And Ahmad, brother, you are Snoop Imam. So so Bruno, tell us something about yourself which we ideally wouldn't guess about you, which you're comfortable to share with us.
Oh, really? Do you know any people who does fly fishing?
Yes, fly fishing, yes.
All right, so nobody ever thought that I would be a keen, fly fishing, angler. And I do tie my own my own flies.
Right.
And I make an excursion to New Zealand every year or every second year to go fly fishing.
Wow.
And so,
that's to Wellington, right? Do you go to Wellington?
I'm flying to Wellington, and I go to the North Islands, and I fish over there, fly into Auckland, and I go down to the South Islands and fish and stuff like that.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. What got you into fly fishing? That's something which a lot of really, really experienced fishermen actually find pretty hard, honestly.
Yes, there's something about we all need that space where we can actually be on our own and be able to listen to the silence. And for me, being able to go into the highlands where you can actually hear the creek, as opposed to being in the city where every 100 yards, you have road constructions, and we just saturated with noise, as we talked about. Whether it's literally noise outdoors or literally noise for all the information that we have around us, to the point that you can actually discern which one you should listen to. So wanting that space, I started going into the highlands, and I saw a gentleman in Tasmania with fishing rod. Then I stopped my car, had a chat to him. He was wearing waders and an akubra and so forth. I said, yeah, this guy looks kind of cool. And I stopped my car. I jumped into his car, and then we went fly fishing for the first time. And as soon as I left him, I went to the fishing shop, and I kitted myself with everything that I needed to become a fly fisher, a fly fisherman, and so on. And to the point that I had to fake it till I make it. And so when I kind of made it, I actually participated in Australian fly casting competition.
Right.
And
you're kidding? Wow.
No, yeah. And to the point that I made it second, in Tasmania, and to represent Tasmania here in New South Wales. And So from there, I just, carried on with the point that I took it on myself. If I need that space, I would just jump on a plane and go somewhere else and lose myself for a week fishing up streams.
So you did end up in the outback then?
Not the dry outback, but the wet outback.
Yeah, I'm being cheeky. That's all.
Yeah.
So Bruno, you know what you need to do, right? You need to find some time tomorrow and basically, take Ahmad out for some fly fishing somewhere in Sydney. You both are in Sydney, and then when you go back to Perth, you can take Dino with you.
Yeah, I will be glad to do that. But right now he's not in shape to get out there in the cold weather right now.
Oh man, you know how they say when you've got a sore throat, you need to go out and have ice cream. So
I got to tell you, I've never felt so short in my life until I met Bruno.
Really,
you don't understand how tall this man is.
And I always wish I was a couple inches taller.
No,
So Bruno, now how tall are you, brother? I have to ask you this now. Ahmad has just got my curiosity rising now.
He's basketball, remember?
Oh yes, that's true.
203 centimeters is not that tall, really, to play in the States, because this is relatively the average height.
Average height, yeah, in States.
Yeah. In inches.
That's 6 foot 9, if I'm not mistaken.
6'8".
6'9".
Yeah. See, for an average
right. I just felt like looking at an ant with the Hubble telescope. That's how tall I feel right now. 6'9". That's a whole friggin' 11 inches off my head, and I don't even have hair.
See, I remember there was one time when I was together. We were having a family gathering when I was growing up in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm 6 foot, and so probably at the time at that point, maybe I might have been 5'11". I mean, I may not have completely grown my full height, but all of these cousins, there were about 4 of them, and they were all like 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", and I hated them. I was like, who are you? It's like everyone else. I mean, they're looking up at me. Who are you?
But the funny thing about being tall, and where I don't get to see too many tall people like myself on the street.
Yeah.
But occasionally,
you've got a bird's eye view, brother. You've got a bird's eye view.
That's right. And occasionally I would find myself in a confined, environment. Yeah. Let's say on the train. Then someone is standing in front of me and they're looking past me. And I say, wait a minute, you're supposed to be looking at me, say, this guy is really tall. Why are you looking past me back there? And to the point that I would try to just turn myself around a little bit to see what they're looking, and I find that 6'4" guy right on top of me. So it makes me that small, even though I've played basketball with people the same before, but on the basketball court, I know where I belong. And then when I'm out in public, I know exactly where I am as well. And for someone just to come over and dethrone me that way, sometimes makes me feel this small.
Yeah.
So,
no, I understand where you're coming from. So Bruno, what brought you into photography, if you don't mind asking?
Photography, it's actually out of necessity. My wife, she works in the oil and gas industry, and her company actually wanted to send her abroad. And she resisted going because it was in Indonesia, and to the point that I encouraged her for us to go. So we packed our bags and went. And so we opened up an office for her company in Indonesia and ran with it for 4 years. And the company wanted us to go to the UK and do the same thing in the UK. So when we got to the UK, we had a landlord whose brother-in-law was actually very, very well-known commercial photographer in London. And the photography is something that I've been doing for a long time, just for fun. And the guy got to see some of my work, and they asked me, said, do you actually do that stuff for fun? And I told him, I said, yeah. I said, would you like to come and help me out? And as I traveled with my wife as a trailing partner, I could work, some contract work 2 days a week or 3 days a week, or have an assignment for 3 months finished, and I look for another one and so forth. And so that's what I was doing. So when this guy asked me to come and to go work with them, I said, why not? So I dropped what I was doing as an accountant, then started working with them for 2 years. And my wife got headhunted by another company to come back to Perth. And because I already got onto something good, The gentleman was paying me just as much as what I was making as an accountant before. So that's a good deal for the both of us. So if we were going to come back to Australia, the company is going to have to give you this, and that, and that, and that, and that. She went and talked to the company. They say, yeah, we can give you this, and that, and that, and that, and that, and that, and that. So I shot myself in the foot, basically. So we had to pack and come back to Australia. So I have to leave Paul in the UK, coming to Australia. I say, hey, I'm going to carry on with photography. But the photography that I did with Paul in the UK is completely different. Paul is a big shot photographer, the type of photographer that would actually close parts of Piccadilly streets right in the center of London, and then bring full trucks of, loads of sand to create a beach on Piccadilly to shoot a Magnum commercial. So he was that kind of photographer. Wow. So I learned so much about him, about advertising, fashion, and products, and so forth. But yet, you shadowed and learned from the best. That's another story as well. When it came to lighting, I had to seek the best lighting instructors that I could actually find. So I traveled to Amsterdam from Indonesia. At the time, photography, I was just doing it for fun, but I wanted to explore a little bit more. So I went from Indonesia to Amsterdam 4 times, to pay someone who knows what they're doing to teach me how to do what they do and more, and so on. So when it comes to the headshot, I reached out to the best headshot photographer in the world, Peter Hurley, to the point that now I became one of his associates and a mentor in his group, helping other people to, craft a good headshot from around the globe. So that's another thing that I try to do. If I try to do something, I'll reach out to the best and learn from the best, and I go with the best that I can find, not the best in the world, but the best that I can find, to help me out. Yeah, so I came back to Perth, and coming back to Perth with my wife, I said, hey, I'm going to give this photography stuff a 5-year stint and see how I go with it. And but I'm going to take the environment that I used to be comfortable with, which is a corporate environment where I've seen a lot of bad headshots and a lot of bad corporate portraits, to see if I can be able to resolve some of those problems in a way. And so right now I'm 3.5 years into my endeavor, and I got another 1.5 years to see what I'll be able to find myself.
You're doing well, brother. You're doing absolutely brilliantly, and some of your work that you shared on LinkedIn, which I've seen on your website as well. It's phenomenal. So it's really top notch, brother. Top notch. I'm an amateur photographer myself, and when I see some of your work, I feel ashamed of even trying to hold a DSLR in my hand. So good on you, brother.
I'm not even going there. I'm not even going there. I'm just waiting to go to Perth.
I'm on my way to Australia, by the way, Bruno, and you're going to be taking my headshot. So, yeah.
Everything that we do, it's just about refining. You're doing great work. You just need to refine. It's just like having a recipe, and just need to tweak that recipe just a little bit, to make it perfect. So,
spot on.
Thank you so
much. You're doing great.
Couldn't agree more.
I think I must have been. I think I was Bruno's most difficult client.
Why? Come on. Come on. You can't be the most.
Let me explain. So when you go see Bruno actually gives you a bit of coaching as well, which is brilliant, and it's exactly what you need. And so I went in there, and he said, okay, I want you to stand a little bit to the right. So I'm like, okay. He goes, all right, now tilt your head towards the camera. I'm like, okay. He goes, and tilt a little bit to the right. You go, all right. And he goes, make sure you tuck your shirt in. You're like, okay. And stick your chin out. You're like, all right. He was like, all right, you forgot to smile. I'm like, okay. Please take a photo. So we got there at the end, but the coaching is a necessity. So he's amazing what he does.
It's all about making you bad to make you look good. That's all it is.
Making you bad to make you look good. That's brilliant.
I actually remember a post of Bruno's on that. There was a corporate client who suddenly came in and said, you've got 5 minutes to take my shot. And after Bruno coached that gentleman, I think he spent half a day with you, Bruno. I remember that post you had put out.
Most of the CEO that I photograph, they're all the same. They come in with this urgency that they need to get somewhere. Then I would inform them. I say, well, you PA paid actually this much for me to be here. So if you think I'm worth this much, I'm happy to be worth that much. But I'm telling you, in order for me to do the job that I need to do, that your PA paid me for, we're going to need more than 5 minutes. I'm going to reschedule and then make time for us to, to work. And they say, okay, so let's see what you can do. And I start working with them to the point that they get in the groove and they don't want to leave anymore because they can see the photos coming and then liking themselves. And they're gonna ask me, do you want to do? Can we take another picture here? Can we go to my office? Can we go to the front of the building? And so then I end up spending times with them to the point that they pay me 3-4 times more than what they originally paid me for, because they got into the group. It's not so much about photography, it's about making the person feel comfortable. And then once you make them feel comfortable, then the photography happens by itself. And
again about the connection. It's love the way you connect, because when you depict, you show it on your system, you're showing it on your computer imagery, how the picture changes as you're coaching them or grooming them through. But what comes out is that little connectivity. The person starts relating with you and emoting.
It's never about photography. It's about the connection between you and the person in front of the camera, to the point that if you get the camera to become invisible, then you become the photographer that they came to see in the first place.
Perfect. And just to bring it back, that's exactly what's business and business branding and personal branding and transformation/evolution. It's about connecting. It's about communicating. It's about engaging. And of course, if you have some entertainment thrown in there, like the 6 of us, you're going to get a lot of comments on this one. Great. Thank you, guys. Love it.
David, just to amplify what you had said, Bruno, someone, I tell this little interesting story. I've been doing this long enough, right? Most people are like, oh, you're full of shit, but that's totally fine. I've been doing this for 40 years this year, okay? 40 years. And so the thing is, when I first got into the industry, there was no internet, there was no social media, there was nothing, right? There was no email, there weren't you didn't have smartphones. So I mean, I came from a totally analog. You had drawing tables, this, that. And so when it started to enter into the industry, I started seeing people getting really excited with what I call the shiny object syndrome. And you're talking about having the camera get out of the way, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm very much in a similar mindset, in that the thing that I tell people is, I say, look, it wasn't the microphone that made the Beatles sound good. It was the Beatles that made the microphone sound good.
Correct.
Beautiful. And it was and that's the thing. It's like don't get so obsessed with the channels or the techniques or the this or the equipment or the technology. No. Work out the stuff that's vitally important, which is the human story, the human connection, what you bring to it, because you're bringing life to those things. Those things are not bringing life to you. And so it's just, I appreciate, that's my way of saying I appreciate and agree and applaud with what you communicated.
Couldn't have said it better, David. Couldn't have said it. That's technology meets hearts and minds. It enhances, it does not create. Creativity is the sole purview of the human intelligence, whichever way, right brain, left brain, we can debate on that. Beautifully said. Love it.
Spot on. And exactly. I'm actually going to ask Ahmad. Ahmad, you wanted to say something. I can see you.
Yes. I know that we're wrapping up, so I just wanted to give a bit of a promotion, so to speak. David and I have been working on a top secret project that I alluded to early on, and I'm not going to give too much away. But it should be, in fact, it will be the largest music collaboration that LinkedIn has ever seen. Okay, so it's got a lot of our LinkedIn family on there, a lot of influencers. There will be rap involved, there will be beatboxing involved.
Wow.
It's about the LinkedIn community, and it is also about branding. So stay tuned is my only message.
I'm bopping already, man.
Bruno's already on with the beatbox. He's already on. Okay.
Come on, Dino. Yes. I know you can get in here with me.
Dino, brother. Your last take on before we wrap up.
Listen, I think I gave a couple of takeaways in regards to assessing your own brand and having a look at it. But I started having a conversation with my daughter the other day, with the eldest one, who's nearly 17.
Yep.
And it was around music artists in comparison to music singers. So when I put on music, it's all about, excuse me, but it's like Elton John, Queen, those type. And to me,
That's the generation.
My hand is going up. My hand is going up as well.
Yeah,
so
yep. Same here.
To me, those guys, those girls, those bands, they are artists. They create the music, they create the song lyrics, they put it all together, and it becomes what we know of today.
Mm-hmm.
In comparison to some of the singers today, where they get given song music, there's a DJ, there's music behind them, there's a band behind them, and they sing and perform. Different type of artistry when you're looking at it. So you can take that analogy away and actually put that into your own brand in the sense of, are you going to be looking at it from a creative perspective? And I don't give a shit if people like authentic or not. I'm going to bloody use that word. You want to be authentic, right? I'll say it with passion, because I bloody believe in it, right? Then do it. I don't give a shit that people don't like it. I'm going to use the word because I like it.
Correct. Right? It sums it up best.
Because that is being authentic in yourself, because you're being authentic and wanting to use that. Exactly.
Well, you can call whatever, right? You can make words up if you want and make a whole trend out of it. I don't care.
Absolutely.
But you can take that in regards to being authentic from your own content, or how do you actually get other people involved and become part of a collaboration like Ahmad's doing now with Dave, or do you actually start creating your own? So it was an interesting topic when you're having it with a 17-year-old and all her music's from, I don't even know half these people. God, I can't rename them.
Well, they all start with little nowadays. What is it? Little Uzi, little birds, and
who's this one? Brier and all of those, right? But then when you have a discussion with people in our age, and we could be, what generation are we now? There's probably a mix of them on the panel. It comes up all the old days. So do you class Elvis Presley the same as you would do Justin Bieber? So how do you do that? And again, it goes on to, as David was saying, that art of differentiation. How do you do it? You look at the music industry, there's thousands of it. There's thousands of people wanting to break through. Yeah. How do they do it? Yep. How do they do it? And I challenge you to go away and answer that question.
And Dino, you put Elvis Presley and Justin Bieber in the same sentence?
I did, because they're chalk and cheese, that's why.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
Ahmad, I think, brother, we're going to lose quite a few followers today.
Maybe.
You know the funny part. This is something Corey has faced as well. Every time I go live, I lose followers. I don't know why.
Really? That's
still
strange.
It's very strange, very strange. I think it's a glitch, but I don't know. Anyways, it's very strange. I mean, he loses about 500 to 600 followers every time he goes live, and I'm just wow. that is crazy. So oh well. But see, thank you so much, the four of you. I mean, Ahmad, I really appreciate you are under the weather and you weren't feeling well. You had a nap and still you were here because I really appreciate that. We really appreciate that. We are looking forward to your top secret collaboration with the one and only Iron Man of branding, David Brier.
So it's becoming like the Odessa Files.
What was that?
It's becoming like the Odessa Files.
It's becoming like the Odessa Files.
Odessa Files, the movie. Okay, that's
exactly.
That's way before Ahmed's time and your time, Yusuf. So it's okay.
No. I mean, come on. I mean, Ahmad and me. I mean, we're the same age. Joy.
That's what I said. It's before your time. David would remember it.
Look, Ahmad was very, very, very stealth in the way that he alluded to it, and he's right. He's right. I mean, what we realized once we started getting into it, because we both come from a very similar approach of commitment to quality and a standard of content, et cetera. And so there was a mutual respect and a camaraderie. And if the editing doesn't kill me, it will be amazing.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Man, love it. Absolutely love it. So thank you so much, Bruno. You are traveling on work at this present moment. You live in Perth, but you're presently in Sydney, and you were like, no, it'd be great if we can do it a little bit later in the evening. So thank you so much for joining us, Bruno. Really appreciate it. And welcome, warm welcome as part of our CTE family. It's so good to have you with us, and it's such a pleasure. And David, brother, thank you so much once again. It's always a pleasure having a chat with you. And it's so good. It's so good to just hear your no nonsense, straight down the middle delivery, and just the way you say certain things just really sort of just cut you straight down the middle, so to speak. So good on you, mate. And Dino, thank you so much, brother. So appreciate everything that you do. And you're an advocate there, basically in branding and transformation, and so are each and every one of you. So really appreciate all the time that you've taken, all the lovely insights that you've given. Really appreciate it. Dino, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say thanks, Yusuf and Joy, for arranging to have us on the panel. I don't have a new transformation announcement, but I do have a new evolution announcement coming out soon.
Awesome.
I can't say at the moment, but hopefully.
Can you give us a little bit of a hint? Can you give us a little bit of a hint? Okay.
Otherwise, it won't work.
No, fair enough.
We'll wait.
Can't wait. So absolutely. Thank you so much. So if you're not connected to these four gentlemen who are our guests on screen, David Brier, Dino Pacella, Ahmad Imam, and Bruno, please. Kongawoin, yes. I didn't want to pronounce your name incorrectly. Is that okay? Bruno Kongawoin, right?
You said it, man. You said it. Spot on.
Perfect.
You deserve a beer, man. You deserve a beer.
Absolutely. I'm waiting to actually catch up with all at least the three of you on the right-hand corner of your screen. And David, you've got to fly in, mate. You've got to fly in. So, yeah.
I'm out.
Once the editing is over.
I'm completely outnumbered here. There's no question about it.
I'll give you support, David. You fly in. After the editing.
Absolutely. So seriously, I mean, the four of you, thank you. I mean, if you're not connected to the four of them, I highly recommend you to do that. They are some of the most genuine people, who definitely try and assist others as much as possible. So thank you so much for watching, and really appreciate all your lovely comments and feedback that you've given us throughout the show. So it's been close to an hour and a half. So we really appreciate the time that you spent with us. And Ahmad, thank you so much, brother. It's 11 p.m. at this present moment, your time. Sorry, it's midnight at this moment, is it? Yeah, midnight.
Yep. Midnight.
It's midnight. So good morning to you, brother. It's time for you to go back for a nap. So
yeah.
Thank you, Ahmad. I will remove you from the feed. Really appreciate you being here, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Regards to your daughters and to Paris as well. Take care.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care, brother. So thank you. Thank you, Bruno. Really appreciate it. You are also on a later time zone as well. Is it past your bedtime at this present moment?
I'm nocturnal.
You're nocturnal.
So
love it.
So you've got company.
Another 3-4 hours.
Oh man, there you go. I sleep at about 4 a.m. every day. So yeah.
Yeah, he's a bat. Bruno, he's a bat. You both of you can go and become Batman together. I'm in Dino's camp. I'm about to get into my bedtime zone 1 hour from now.
Actually,
absolutely,
Dino, it's way past Dino's bedtime. Dino is a 9 o'clock guy, so
yeah.
I know that because he's up every day at 3:30 a.m. So yeah,
exactly.
So, but Bruno, thank you so much, brother. Really appreciate it. You've had a long day with work and everything. So
thank you
for joining us. It's such a pleasure to have you on our CTE family, and wishing you safe travels to Melbourne, and looking forward to catching up with you personally down under when I'm there at the end of the year. So
looking forward to that too. And David, great pleasure meeting you and having a chat and being on the show together. And I'm quite sure you just opened the door for more interaction and see where we can go with this new relationship that we got going.
Absolutely, my brother. Sounds great, man.
Okay.
I love it.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Dino,
thank you
catch you later, bro.
Take care.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
See you. The two sort of specialists in branding. So what a lovely way to finish the show off. So thank you so much once again, David, and thank you so much, Dino. Really appreciate all the support, all the efforts, and everything that you do for others around you, and for all the companies and all the individuals that you'll coach. So if you're honestly speaking, David, I mean, what you do for businesses is just, throw in such an amazingly fresh perspective, which a lot of people haven't even thought of to a certain extent. And it's really, really awesome. And Dino, what you do to actually get people to find themselves and basically sort of you find diamonds in the rough. Let me put it that way. And
here. Are you trying to compliment yourself? Sorry, I know we're live. Are you trying to say you're a diamond?
No.
Dude. All right. We're live. I'll hold that back. You're a diamond. Love you, bro. Go ahead. Dino's found a good one. Agreed.
No, but thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm a living testament of what Dino was able to sort of to unearth to a certain extent. So thank you so much, brother.
It was all yourself, Yusuf, man. It was just a chat as you do with everybody. So you found yourself.
That is very true. But my deepest gratitude to you, Bruno, Dino. Really, really appreciate it. So appreciate it. So thank you so much once again, and really appreciate your time. And David, wishing you a fantastic day ahead. It's 9 a.m. your time at this present moment. So happy Monday. So yeah, Joy, go for it.
David, have you posted Monday Morning Mojo?
I did. It was posted a little over 2 hours ago.
Yep.
Yusuf, I need to run. I need the Monday Morning Mojo before I go to sleep. That's what I take to bed every Monday, man. Can you cut me out of this feed? I'm off. Monday mornings and Wednesdays. David, I love it. I love you, brother. Not because of your sense of humor and not because of what Yusuf said. You say it down the middle. Your Monday Morning Mojo and 1 Minute Wednesday. Anybody, any dude and dudette in any form of marketing, whether they're coming out of university or they're CMO, they need to just take that every Monday and every Wednesday. The week's made. The week's made. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. It's helped me in 3 recent discussions, just pulling it up and showing your 1 Minute Wednesdays to explain what differentiation means. Just that simple video clip. That's what stands out. Thank you.
Hey, Joy.
Yo.
David's not genuine. He's what?
Sorry?
What does it start with? David's not genuine. He's what?
David's a diamond.
What? He's authentic. He's authentic.
Sorry, David. That's my last one. I'll cut that word out.
Look, Randy said authentic has become a bad word. Dino,
see,
you know my feelings were.
But it was only Randy. It was only Randy who was kind of like I think he kind of like was like enough with the word authentic, and so I said, how about genuinely non-artificial?
Yeah, agree.
But that isn't that a double negative? I mean, come on.
But it works. It works. If you're genuinely non-artificial, how more authentic can you get?
Super. No, I just wanted to put that shout out because both you gentlemen, I mean, echoing what Yusuf said, there's so much learning that comes out from your content. And there's so much of that learning that if people really want to use it at work and self, it can be. I mean, we interact on a couple of other channels separately. And I learned from you. I'll be very honest. I learned from you how to craft for those channels. Take original content, use it by channel. And David, I'm sharing this in live because if you don't learn from your peers and people who help you to become better, there's no way you could. I can't go to a school somewhere and redo my MBA in marketing and think I can become a whiz kid. Can I? I can't. And I have a ready-made 2-day, 5 minutes to see the videos, read your post, learn about it. And by the way, I love the article. I don't know when you wrote it about the glitches on LinkedIn Live. All 5 on your blog. All 5. I was telling Yusuf earlier today. All 5 are still valid, though he just said that the mobile one is supposedly you can comment from mobile now. But thank you. Love you guys. I mean, honestly, Yusuf and I, love you guys. And that's why our nicknames, Iron Man of branding and the 007 of branding, be that. Maybe one day we'll be able to get 007 and Iron Man to create some Avenger type.
Yeah, it'll be the Avengers of branding. It'll be unstoppable.
Unstoppable. Yeah. Absolutely. Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much, Dino. Really, really appreciate your time and have a lovely, lovely evening. And thank you so much for all your insights and all your inputs. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks, David, and thank you, Dino. Really appreciate it. Take care, guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye-bye. Bye. Pleasure. Ciao. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone who's watching at this present moment. Really appreciate your time that you've spent with us this evening and in the morning for those of you tuning in from the United States. So really appreciate it. And some last words from you, Joy.
Just hope that this entire series, it's been 90 minutes plus, has been of some insight. It's live, so therefore it's the live edge. At least for Yusuf and I, we've shared it openly, and we know that we are going away with some very strong points on evolution and transformation, not to mention on the branding, both personal and business branding side. And I just hope on behalf of Create the Edge that our audience who's with us and has been with us, you've had some insights too. Please do share in the comments on this post going forward. Do share with us topics or areas that you would like to see on the live edge. And Yusuf and I will try our level best to try and bring this out at least fortnightly, if not once in 3 weeks. Thank you so much. You've been a great audience, and keep the comments coming.
Absolutely, and thank you so much once again. Really appreciate all the support that you've given us throughout this episode. It's an hour and a half long, but we've had the most number of dedicated viewers that I've ever had on any of my lives. So it's been fluctuating around 150 people watching at the same time at every single moment. So really appreciate that. So thank you so much for your support. Create the Edge would be nowhere without all your love, support, and encouragement. So really appreciate that. And thank you once again. Stay safe, stay blessed.
Have a great week.
Take care. Bye-bye.